Well, Chris, it's fun while it lasted. It's fun while it lasted.
I thought that maybe another streak could have been started today, and you can argue that it should have started today.
Well, I don't know. Maybe a streak did start today. Maybe another losing streak, unfortunately. That might happen. I don't know. It's a short week. 27-13, the final score of this one, Colts over the Panthers. Let's break it all down. Let's get this up to start.
The state of North Carolina covers 53,000 square miles. It is the habitat of the feared Carolina Panthers. Get dialed in, Panthers fans, for an in-depth look at your team. Exclusive interviews, locker room insight. Let's huddle up for Panthers Playbook. Here are your hosts, Dennis Cox and Chris Lea.
Welcome back to another episode of Panthers Playbook. That's Chris Lea, Dennis Cox here with you. Before we get into tonight's 27-13 loss to Indianapolis at home at Bank of America Stadium, where Chris Lea is right now, make sure you leave your thoughts and comments here in the comments section. Let us know your thoughts on this game. A lot of people left thoughts on our last episode that dropped on Thursday, which is great. Not everyone agrees with what Chris and I say, and that's 100% fine. Let us know your thoughts on this game in the comment section below. But Chris, 27-13 in this one, 3 interceptions by Bryce Young, 2 of which pick sixes.
Oof.
Offense not only today was just sputtering, but it's been like that all season.
Yeah, and here's one thing I thought was very interesting, and I don't know if it came across on television as people were there, but here in live and in person at Bank of America Stadium, I definitely noticed it, is that Bryce didn't look comfortable from the beginning. No. You could tell that the hits are starting to mount up. He's starting to get happy feet. I haven't seen him have happy feet this entire season, and there was a few plays in the first half where he's like bouncing around, man. He's patting that thing, he's burping it and all that, and it started to look like a shorter version of Sam Darnold when Sam Darnold would get the happy feet. You know what I'm saying? And you're starting to wonder, like, at what point do all these hits start to add up for Bryce Young? I mean, the Panthers have given up, if my count is correct, 29 sacks.
Yes.
So far this season, which means that is 246 yards that they have lost on sacks. For the Panthers, that is a whole game of offense. And you can't afford to lose an entire game of offense halfway through the season just on sacks. So, I mean, it's there's so many things. And Bryce Young definitely will, of course, we're talking about the interceptions and everything. But, man, like the penalties, the sacks, it's just all bad right now. And you thought that they would be able to build on what they had last week, and they just absolutely just couldn't do it.
All right, so talking about sacks, like you said, 29 sacks on the season, so averaging 3.63 sacks per game. I got a lot of numbers we could throw at you because we're basically at the midpoint. I crunched a lot of numbers this season so far for the Panthers. The 3.63 sacks per game. Again, there's some games haven't finished. I know the Bills and Bengals are playing as we speak right now. Obviously, there's the Monday Night Football game, 29th in the league in sacks per game. 29th.
I don't think Bills and Bengals will change that.
Probably not. But also, so there's also a stat out there in terms of sack percentage. So obviously teams that throw the ball a lot more might have a more volume number of sacks. Obviously, the more you drop back. But you look at the sack percentage, 8.4% of the time Bryce Young drops back to pass, he's been sacked. 8.4%. That's 24th in the NFL. 24th in the NFL. And here's the thing. A lot of people talk about, okay, getting a running game going, right? We actually did see a pretty good run game rush effort overall tonight for the Carolina Panthers.
In the third quarter.
Especially in the third quarter. All right.
It wasn't a lot there in the first half.
Well, there's that too. The third quarter, I was like, wait, that's the Miles Sanders that we all were expecting to see there in the third quarter. Look at sometimes like rushing can obviously help a young quarterback, right? Having a ground game.
Yes.
Panthers, 96.3 yards per game, good for 25th in the NFL in rushing yards per game. That's just the offense. I haven't gotten to the defensive stats yet. Defensive stats really aren't that great either, though the defense today, Chris,
Defense was good today.
I thought defense today was good.
Defense
You
was
think
good
that
today.
last week they only gave up 13 points against Houston. You take away the 2 pick sixes by the Colts today, defense only gave up 13 points again.
And let me add something else in there to add on to that point.
Hit me.
The hit on Michael Pittman, that was, I don't think it's a flag. Some people still say it's a flag. I don't agree that it was, because he didn't hit him in the head and neck
This
area.
is the hit by Xavier Woods on Michael Pittman.
Xavier Woods on Michael Pittman. That kept the drive going, because that would have been third down and that would have been done. So the Colts would have had to punt right there. That kept the drive going, and then they end up scoring. The Colts end up scoring their only touchdown of the game right there at that spot. So you can make an argument that the defense, without that one penalty, and then also without the interceptions, the defense by themselves only gave up 6 points. You can make that argument for today.
Okay, I see what your argument is on that. But
it's a good showing by the defense. That's pretty much all I want to say.
Overall, good showing by the defense, but you also think the struggles of this team. This team's 1-7, so 8 games in, and 17 games on the season. I'm going to call it the midway point, because again, Chicago coming up on Thursday. I'm going to say the midway point, because normally 8 games was your midway point. So if you take away the defensive and special team scores for both Carolina and opponents, so you take away, for example, like the pick 6 that Sam Franklin had early in the season, or the Troy Hill pick 6, or the fumble recovery by Minnesota off a strip sack of Bryce Young. You take those plays away. You take the 2 pick 6s away today. Looking at strictly just offense and defense for the Carolina Panthers, the offense is scoring 15.75 points per game. That's it. 15.75 points per game. The defense allowing 25.6 points per game. So even when you take away the defensive scores, the defense is still having its struggles. The defense this season, again, taking away defensive and special team scores, the defense this season has given up less than 20 points only 3 times this season. They gave up 14 points defensively against Minnesota. Again, you take away that defensive score for the Vikings in that game. Houston only 13 points, and then the Colts this week 13 points is what they have given up. Whereas on offense for the Carolina Panthers, they've only scored more than 20 points as an offensive unit twice this season. 27 points against Seattle and 24 points against Detroit. That's it. That's
Miami,
it.
You're taking away that pick 6 from Troy Hill.
I'm taking away the pick 6 from Troy Hill as well. But also you go into the turnovers. Again, the Carolina Panthers have turned the ball over 11 times now this season. 7 interceptions by Bryce Young, 4 fumbles given up as a unit as a whole this year. 2 of them by Miles Sanders. I know one of them was Bryce Young, or a couple, I think, by Bryce Young now. But nonetheless, 11 turnovers by the Carolina Panthers this season. Opponents have scored 59 points off of those 11 turnovers. That includes actually, like, for example, like the 2 pick 6s, or like we saw against Atlanta, where Atlanta's offense scored 17 points as a result of those turnovers. So points off turnovers, 59 off 11. That's 5.36 points per turnover. 5.3. Defensively, your goal on a sudden change situation is 3 points or less. Now, again, there's pick 6s and all that kind of stuff included as well. The Panthers have forced 7 turnovers this season, 7, and only have 23 points. It's 3.29 points per game off turnovers. So that's the thing. It's like, this is not just like an offense is doing bad and the defense is doing okay. This is a cumulative team thing. It's bad. And I even get into the red zone numbers, Chris. I even get into the red zone numbers.
Well, I don't even know if we have to even get into that right there, because it's just,
it's not that much better.
It's not. And just the overall output just isn't good. This team isn't good enough to overcome mistakes like that, right? Like, if people will look at this score, they'll say 27 and they'll be like, dang, Colts killed them.
Yeah.
And honestly, Colts offense looked worse than the Panthers offense today.
Well, they didn't need to
keep it real. They didn't get over 200 yards. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
And so so their offense really just didn't look good. So you're right. It's that cumulative effect of defense, special teams, offense. It's all not clicking right now. And last week we gave a shout out to the coaching staff, because there has to be great coaching involved in a 6 minute drive to end the game to go win it. Now you have all these penalties. You had 3 in the last game, 3 in the game before that against the Dolphins.
Yeah.
So 6 total, 10 in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the mistakes that you've had right there. in this game, the 3 turnovers and all that. A lot of this is going to come down to coaching. The sacks given up, a lot of it's coming down to coaching. And it just doesn't seem to be a very disciplined, well-coached team. You see the differences every week with other teams. The Colts are probably the worst team that I've seen the Carolina Panthers play in person.
And they have 4 wins. They have 4 wins.
Boy. But they look so much better. Yeah. Just as a unit. Mm-hmm. Than what the Carolina Panthers do.
And that's a first-year head coach too. I was Shane Steichen over there. So it's not a cumulative thing. Before we get into, I'm going to get into some of the other numbers and some of the other guys we talked about. A lot of people are going to just strictly going to put this on Bryce Young, and Bryce Young today was just not good. It was probably actually one of his worst games that he had, especially because the last couple of weeks we saw that steady improvement, getting better. Look like, hey, this is a good quarterback that's just on a bad team. But today, like you mentioned, it was right from the get-go. Kid had happy feet, man. Kid had happy feet.
Let's talk about this a little bit more with Bryce, because one of the things that Panthers fans are going to do is they're going to look at C.J. Stroud, and who had 470 yards, which is a rookie record, and 5 touchdowns for today. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so just naturally, fans are going to look at it and say, and I've seen it already on social media, Bryce is a bust. This is just a bad game. He's a rookie. Go back and look at any amazing quarterback that we think of in the NFL, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, just anybody. They've all had bad rookie games.
Yeah.
They've all had bad rookie. Yeah. And that's true. And so this is just something that ends up happening. But here's the thing that I think I need Panthers fans to really think about and understand.
Hit me.
You're not mad at Bryce Young.
Yeah.
You're not mad at Bryce. That's displaced anger. Who you're mad at is the Panthers front office, because Bryce Young is the representation of all the bad moves this Panthers front office has made over the last 3 to 4 seasons. And because they got to a level, they mishandled the quarterback situation. So they had to trade away your number 1 wide receiver to get this guy. That's what you're mad at. You're not mad at Bryce Young. He's gonna have these rookie struggles. So remember not to displace your anger. You're really mad at David Tepper and Scott Fitterer. Mm-hmm. That's who you're upset with.
Oh, 100%. I've heard, so on our Thursday episode of Panthers Playbook, I mentioned about like guys, you and I disagreed about maybe guys that they could have traded, even gotten some low round picks. And a lot of people in the comment section would be like, yeah, like, why would you make that move for a 7th rounder? But it's like, are you mad at the fact that I want the team to get draft capital? Or are you upset about the people making the selections? Like, no, I don't trust Fitterer. I don't trust the front office to make those moves. Like, bingo. So you're not upset at me for the one the Panthers wanted to get draft picks. You're upset about the guys making the picks because they've wasted so many. They don't trust it. Like 100% with you on this, Chris. 11 draft picks and DJ Moore to fill one spot on your roster. So, yeah, the reason why everything around Bryce stinks is because the front office put crap around Bryce Young. That's 100% the reason.
C.J. Henderson goes out with an injury today. He's going to be in a concussion protocol. Remember how they got C.J. Henderson? You traded away Dan Arnold in a pick.
And like a 3rd-round pick, I think, yeah.
And then you have DJ Johnson. Mm-hmm. Of course, there's no Justin Houston today, so he's the guy filling in, and it was very quiet on that other side, opposite of Brian Burns today.
Yep,
very quiet. Right,
they used a 4th-round pick,
and they used a 4th-round pick to trade up to get him. So in general, just look at the wasted draft capital. We talked about the quarterback position. In general, there's a lot of wasted draft capital that's come from this franchise in the last 4 seasons.
Yeah,
Bryce is just one of the representations of that. That's what you're mad at, Panthers fans. You're not mad at Bryce Young.
100% with you. 100% with you. All right, speaking of Bryce Young, let's go to the locker room. You were in the locker room talking to Ike Kwanu, DJ Chark. Let's go to the DJ Chark first. Here's DJ Chark talking about still having faith in Bryce Young, but also he was asked about Trevor Lawrence, a guy he actually played with for a little bit in Jacksonville, former number 1 overall pick. So here's DJ Chark talking about his faith in Young and also that comparison with Trevor Lawrence.
I played with Trevor in our first year together. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play the whole season, but he had struggles and people was down in him, and now people love him. Bryce is talented. He's a rookie. He's a rookie who's got, put in the saddle early, and he's taking control of his offense, and he's only going to get better. You see the flash, you see the games where he does well, and we like to pat him on the back, but then whenever things don't go as well, we kind of get on him and question him and things like that. But he's going to be good. He's a competitor. He's sticking in there, running the ball. He's not necessarily coming out there wanting to run, but he's doing it. He's evading defenders, trying to make the most of it, make throws. He's going to be fine.
All right, Chris, the offense overall, again, has been a struggle. I mean, in fact, the DJ Chark, who we just heard from, I actually pulled down just the stats, just the overall reception numbers this season for the Carolina Panthers. Adam Thielen, 62. That dude's playing above and beyond all levels of what we expect right now. Adam Thielen is right now.
I mean, I expected it, but
Well, I mean, not many people expected 62 receptions through 8 games. Not many. I mean, that's top 5 in the NFL or so right now. Next on the list, Jonathan Mingo with 20 receptions. 20. Your rookie who missed a game this season. 20 receptions. After that, Miles Sanders, third with 18 receptions. DJ Chark, who we just heard from, 17. You know who else has 17 receptions this season?
Who else?
Terrace Marshall Jr.
Really?
Has 17 receptions this season.
Those are the
Hayden
quietest receptions ever.
I know, you ain't kidding about that. And 16 receptions for Hayden Hurst. That's it. That's your top 6 right there in terms of receptions.
I have a funny moment to share
Talk
with
to
you.
me.
So in the press box, I normally sit in the area close to all the other Panthers beat reporters and people who are basically here to cover the Panthers. This week, they had me on the other side next to the Indianapolis beat reporters.
Okay.
And when Hayden Hurst caught that 48-yarder, I didn't remember what the longest was for Bryce, but I just literally blurted out, wow, that's his longest completion of the season. And they all turned and looked at me like, really? I was everything is underneath. That's the most explosive play from Bryce Young because everything else is underneath. It was weird seeing somebody that wide open, and the Panthers couldn't even handle that because the second pick six came right after that.
Yep.
So it's just showing that the Panthers just can't have nice things this year.
No, they can't have nice things, including a rush defense that's giving up just under 132 yards a game in the NFL, about 29th in the league. The rush defense is for the Carolina Panthers. By the way, here's actually probably something that's actually most concerning for me when it comes about Evero, this new defense and the defense as a whole moving forward, not just this season, but what are they doing down the line in the future? This is red zone touchdown percentage. So when opponents get into the red zone, this is the percentage of time that the opponent scores. The opponents are 21 of 28 in the red zone scoring touchdown this season, 75%, 31st in the NFL. So when teams get in the red zone, they're scoring touchdowns. Simple as that. The Panthers offensively, 52%, about 16th, middle of the road, 16th, okay, 52%, but they don't get to the red zone very often.
You know what? I have to pull out this stat because it was a stat that was, let me pull out my nice Panthers notebook. Thing.
So, by the way, as you're pulling up this stat, a lot of people sometimes will say oh, you guys are just hating on the team. You're just saying a bunch of stuff to hating on the team. No, we got numbers to back this stuff up. Also, okay, go on. I got one more stat for you, but go on, Chris.
Okay, this is to buffer the point that you just gave, right?
Okay.
This is a note that they gave us before the game. Carolina is tied for 8th in the NFL with 20.6 first downs per game. 8th in the NFL.
Oh.
The Panthers have registered 20 first downs in 5 consecutive games, the second longest active streak behind the Philadelphia Eagles, who had 7 in a row, I guess, before today's game. The Panthers haven't had a longer streak since doing so in 6 straight games in 2014. And I read this and I was puzzled. I was like, wait a minute. That sounds like a good offensive team. But then I started thinking about it. If all you can do is move the ball between the 20s and once you get inside the red zone, you can't do anything, I guess that's what it is.
Yeah, well, guess what this is as well. You know why you get a lot of first downs? Because you can't pick up explosive plays.
Yes.
You know why? Because
Yes.
all your scoring play, like all your
Yes.
scoring drives are like 12, 13, 14 plays. Like,
Yes.
because you can't go 6 plays, 75 yards.
It just won't happen.
That's exactly. So yeah, you might have less
Thomas
first
Brown.
downs.
Thomas Brown didn't have a good game today.
No. I mean, game two for that guy.
Game two
for
but
that
it wasn't
guy.
good.
It was not good overall. It's just, yeah, Chris, it's just not good overall. It's just not good overall. By the way, speaking of stats, I'm surprised they didn't throw this one in there. Up until today, the Panthers had 7 straight games this season, 7 straight games to start the season where they gave up 100+ yards rushing. And if you actually go back to the end, like the last game of the season last year, 8 straight games in the NFL, which was the longest streak in the league until today. They broke that today. Congrats, you gave up less than 100 yards for the first time since last season.
The only game that didn't happen in was the Falcons game, right?
Well, no, I'm talking defensively. No, they gave up.
I'm saying where the defense didn't give up 100 yards rushing.
No,
they gave
up 100 against Atlanta.
Are you sure? You said 7 straight.
No, it was 8 straight games up until today that they had given up 100+ yards.
Oh, 8 straight. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you said 7.
No,
okay.
no, I mean 7 to start the year until today.
Got you. Okay,
yes.
I thought you were including today in that because I was going to say this game felt a lot like the Atlanta Falcons game, honestly. Like it just a very winnable game where mistakes, penalties, turnovers is what cost you the game.
Yep.
Nothing more to say.
And we didn't mention the fact that Brian Burns went out with an injury, and the Panthers got to play on Thursday against the Chicago Bears. So who knows who's going to be available?
So I mean, I don't expect Brian Burns to be available. And here's another thing: the Panthers are 29th in giving up sacks this season. The Bears are a spot ahead of them, and they're 28th. So you're talking about a team where they can be had by sacking them, and your best pass rusher probably is not going to play.
Yeah, and the Panthers, even with Brian Burns, averaged about 2.1 sacks per game coming into today, about 21st in the NFL. 21st. And talking about sack percentage, the stat I mentioned earlier, they get a sack about 7.6% of opponents' dropbacks, 16th in the NFL. So you have a bottom 3 in the NFL rush defense, and you get to the quarterback in the middle of the bottom half of the league as well. I'm still searching to find what this team like what's the one thing this team does well. I still don't know what it is. But hey, Johnny Hekker though, I'll give him that.
That's something that Frank Reich said after the game. I mean, he did say that we're still searching to find our identity. We don't know what the Panthers' identity is right now. They don't know if they want to run the ball, they want to pass the ball. Just don't know.
I do know that we're going to have another episode of Panthers Playbook for you all this coming Thursday after the Bears game. Chris, you're going to be there at Bank of America Stadium once again. I know it's late.
It's an away game. It's an away game.
Oh, that's right. It's it's away. It's still going to be a late night. You know what? You might as well be at Bank of America Stadium because who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares at this point? I forgot it's on the road. Good for us. Good for us. Make sure you smash the subscribe button. Let us know your thoughts and comments on this Panthers loss here today. Chris, I'll talk to you on Thursday.